This is Black Market Borg Part 2 by Christopher Donleona, known as Peaceful-blu on the Short Stories subreddit. As FP makes his way to the sordid little corner of the city, he realizes in all the commotion he forgot to put on shoes. Not that it would matter. Not much can actually hurt his metallic feet as he trudges forward. Under them he feels a tingling sensation he has long since forgotten, ushering him forth with renewed vigor. It was as if he was experiencing this part of the city for the first time, but this time he doesn't avoid any of the things he thinks can harm him. He wants to experience everything, boldly. The vibration at the back of his mind becomes ever present with each new thing retried. He slides his hands across every surface, absorbing the textures into his senses, and crushes everything beneath his feet on his impromptu journey to where it all began. In the wake of his sensory adventure, he inadvertently leaves behind bits of twisted metal, nowhere near the same amount of damage as last night, just enough to give pause to anyone who might happen upon its existence. However, each thing he drags his hands across leaves indentations. Those surfaces he enjoys the most are subsequently left with an index-sized crater, now permanently etched into its topography. The randomness of his touch prevents any pattern from emerging through his actions. On a few occasions, he has to stop himself from striking things with low structural integrity, in an attempt to experience the pain of its static recoil. He holds the same curiosity with the touch of a child, entering the candy store for the first time. Before he's even aware of his location, he arrives at the fateful alley, again unaware of the modicum of damage left behind. FP stands hesitant in front of the alley, finding himself yet again at a crossroad. The last time he was there, all those years ago, he was afflicted with the same decision, to enter the belly of the beast or remain unaware of certain dubious affairs. "Let's do this," FP says aloud. His hesitation only lasts moments compared to last time. Years ago, it took almost 30 minutes to set one foot into the wet-looking between. Although the same rush of adrenaline hits him and his heart begins to race as he takes the first steps again. He becomes hyper-aware of his movements and doesn't notice the patch of broken glass in front of him. Just when his foot is to make contact with the shards, they atomize, clearing a path. Unconsciously, FP created a field that will destroy anything that could potentially harm him. His visceral reaction entering the alley is warranted, as this place is dangerous. His memory of the alley is plagued with weapons, jutting jagged metal and glass, and self-conscious boy who just wanted to be done with the whole situation. Eventually, a sign that simply says "Stitch Work" greets him warmly as he calms down, having reached his destination. The field drops as his adrenaline stabilizes, and behind him, in the dark shadows, is a trail of residual material that narrowly escaped erasing. "Come on in, FP," the voice says from the camera above. FP meekly but confidently pushes through and makes his way into the workshop. He finds Stitchwork eagerly waiting for him. "It never takes you long for anything, does it?" Stitchwork asks as he turns around. A far cry from the physician Stitchwork impersonated the other day. They look greasy, as if days in the cave have left them a bit worse for wear. Their eyes are two different colors, one blue, one green. His left iris has a prominent one at the center, and his right is zero. The rest of his features look similar, an amalgamation of parts they undoubtedly thought were cool, alone, but together don't hold the same appeal. "What do you mean by that, Stitchwork?" FP asks, walking up to the patched-together Borg. "It's a compliment, kid. You always do good work, and you're always on time." "If you say so. What's this all about?" Before Stitchwork answers, FP sees the paused video of him walking through the moonlit city last night. "Play it," FP says, taking a seat next to his summoner. "All business," Stitchwork replies, pressing play. As the video unfolds, FP's face is one of bewilderment and astonishment, but not of anger for what's happening to him. "You don't seem to be upset with me for experimenting on you," Stitchwork says, turning his attention to FP. "To be honest, I would have been if this," FP gestures to himself, "didn't work. Plus, I knew the risk going in, and even if it didn't, what good would complaining about it do now?" "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" FP rolls his eyes. "Yes. Anyway, what's this about?" Stitchwork taps their finger on the table and just stares at FP for a moment. "I thought I'd have to convince you some way, somehow, but it looks like you're ready and willing to move forward." FP says nothing as he leans into the chair. "There is some other experimental tech I want to test out, since you seem to have an affinity for it." "Sure, but only if you tell me why you're doing this." "Simply, really. My boundless curiosity has me by the throat." FP can tell they're lying, or rather omitting. The color in his vision is vibrating with the increase in Stitchwork's heart rate. The glaring thrum of their heartbeat is almost disorienting, so FP starts to focus on their hand and their glaring tell, the tapping. When FP first met Stitchwork, they were, for lack of a better term, finicky, and wore their heart on their sleeve. An unparalleled genius at what they do, the rumor said, with a near-perfect operation rate, and more importantly, reasonably priced if you're willing. FP remembers their first interaction. The wiry surgeon wouldn't stare at him directly in the eye. And when he asked if there was any risk, Stitchwork simply said, "No more than usual," as he began to tap his finger on the very same table. The feeling welling up in FP begins to warp the surrounding metal ever so slightly. "Whoa, power down there, sensitive equipment in here," Stitchwork says abruptly, stopping their tapping. "The operation won't take long, but I don't have the tech just yet." "Then why'd you call me here? If you weren't ready to operate," FP asked, confused. "It's on its way, but my contact says it will be interrupted by Aegis Corps before it can arrive. And that's where you come in. I need you to run pickup. What makes you think I'm capable of intercepting a convoy? You saw the video, kid. And I'm sure on your way here you did at least a little damage." "How would you know that?" Stitchwork doesn't answer the question, but instead asks, "How's your vision? Still kaleidoscopic?" FP doesn't answer the question and just sighs, looking up at the ceiling. His vision still has a significant duality, but has long since stopped being a hindrance. He takes in a few deep breaths to brace himself for whatever he knows is about to come. "I'll send you the exact coordinates when the convoy gets close, but for now, just work on getting your vision synced up. It'll help," Stitchwork says with a smile. "How am I supposed to do that?" FP asks. "The same way you have been. Go out and just feel things. Get accustomed to your body. Maybe jump off a building or two. But don't go too crazy. There's only so much I can do to keep the cops off you." "If you say so, Doc," FP says, standing up, beginning to leave. "So, do you accept the job?" Stitchwork asked jokingly. "I think you know the answer to that." Stitchwork simply raises his eyebrow, shocked at FP's eagerness, or rather willingness. He remembers that timid kid that asked for a hookup way back when. He's impressed by how tall FP's walking now, and that is even before the pulse chip. The hesitation FP had re-entering the alley has all but faded. Deep down, he finds himself relishing in the opportunity to test out whatever is happening to him, but he thought he would never openly admit it. He wants to see how much damage he is capable of, not in the sense of destruction, but in how much he can handle. The shadow that once cast over the alley has vanished, illuminating a brand new horizon. However, not all opportunities lead to grandiose rewards, but something tells FP this avenue may be well worth exploring. That was Black Market Borg Part 2 by Christopher Donleona, known as Peaceful-blu on the Short Stories subreddit. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.